Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Did I not tell you it's war? Us versus them, a line drawn in the sand. Phylicia Rashad, who has been married and divorced 3 times herself, sat up and spoke up in favor of basic modesty. And women called her a pick-me, and they were even, this time, some of them were a little bit more respectful and dismissing her message. Well, with all due respect, she's a pick-me, and why do men have to matter at all? Felicia Rashad said that most importantly, when talking about the way these women dress, she said most importantly, most men do not approve of their wives or want their wives or their girlfriends dressing with not enough on. And the answer to this from many women is, why does that have to be most importantly? Well, even Shahid Bolson said something that was correct regarding the red pill and regarding the gender conflict. He said, men and women are over here trying to get each other's attention, even in this gender war. And he was kind of correct. See, women want men's attention even in the gender war. They just don't want the men, but they want the men's attention. Men do want some woman and her attention, but we don't expect to get that from most women. And what we would like is for the women who already like us to be able to pay attention to us on their own terms without the interference of other women, especially their most immature friends out of the circle. We would like for them to be able to choose as adults. Not your type, not your cup of tea, that's fine. But what that means is, if I get with your friend, you don't say nothing. You don't complain because I got with your friend later on. If she's happy, be happy for her. That's about the worst we might say. But he was right that the default nature is for men and women to care about each other and even to care about each other's opinions. That is the default. See, we men in the red pill awareness, I should say, don't act like women are just completely unimportant. They become unimportant in the way that they choose to act. They make themselves unimportant because they make their minds up that they will take away whatever value they would have otherwise had. They will limit themselves to only sexual value and then turn around and take that off the table if you commit to them. The difference is that if they take it off the table because you won't commit, they'll tell you that that's why. But if they take it off the table because you do commit, they lie to you about what the reason is, so you don't know that they took it off the table because you committed. That's the major difference between the two of them. I've seen women say, sit up and even say in chats in which I was present, well, you know, women's libidos or the libidos of wives psychologically start. They begin with how they're treated in the marriage. And I replied one time to a woman and I said, yeah, they may start with how the woman is treated in the marriage. It may very well be the case. They may start that way. But that doesn't mean that it's going to wind up based on how we treat her. In other words, while that might be the reason, whatever the start is, the end result is the same. Many wives just simply don't want their husbands below the belt anymore. And they don't even have the decency to say that that's what it is. So the husbands are sitting up trying to figure out what they're doing when the problem is the fact that they were dumb enough to marry these broads in the beginning. And when I say they were dumb enough, I don't mean that they were wrong for getting married or for committing to someone. What I mean is that the ladies themselves think this guy married me, he committed to me, he must be stupid, I don't want him. That's how these ladies are thinking. They're the ones that have this thought process, and therefore they cut the husband off sexually. and say, I want a guy that with, reproductively and genetically, I only want a guy that's not going to take me seriously, because I really don't see why a man would or should. That's how these ladies see this, whether they're aware or not. But Phylicia Rashad sat up and said, pretty much to these ladies, yes, there is a level of importance to these men's opinions. And this got these women mad. Like, how dare she sit up and admit that these men have any value? What are these ladies sitting up and complaining about on P's World? So you men got self-respect now? Y'all know your value? We got women sitting up and confessing that the problem they have with modern day men is that they'll either say these men are sassy, or they'll say these men know their value. It's the same thing. What they mean is the same thing both ways. That's what they're complaining about. These men know their value, and these ladies are like, how dare these men figure out at all that they even have a value? They don't have one. They're worthless. They're supposed to know that they're worthless. That's what's going through these women's minds. And Phylicia Rashad had the nerve to sit up and say something different. She had the nerve to sit up and say that, just maybe these men actually do have some value. And you know what, ma'am? No. These men do have a value, and you're not going to sit up and act like they're worth nothing. So go ahead and admit that they've got a value. And yes, you want a high value man, or yes, you want a man that has more than the men have had before. You want a man that has more, even in terms of options and other women, along with material things. Well, guess what? Those men who have options are going to choose women that don't show too much out in the public to just any and everybody. So in a nutshell, what Felicia has admitted is that the men that women want when the women have options in men also have their own preferences in women, and that these preferences matter. She's admitted that, and that has gotten these women fired the uck up. It's because of what she's admitting. That's why when I listen to Shahid Bolson's playlist, and I'm still not done, I listen and I hear, in a nutshell, I hear a good intention, but I hear a simplistic conclusion. For one, he thinks that all red pill aware men follow Rollo Tomasi. I'm too black to follow Rollo Tomasi, and I don't even think he hates other races, but he doesn't fully understand enough, and it's not his job to, what it is that black men have faced, or even the roles that both black and white women have played in helping each other out to get to where his own women would betray him at the drop of a hat, even more so than they would a black man. Just as our women would betray us in ways they would never do to a white man. People take the most for granted when they're dealing with their own cultural groups. But the difference is that the women really, really, really take the men of their own cultural groups for granted the most. You want to see an Indian woman not be submissive and not listen? Give her an Indian man. Oh yeah, you'd be shocked. You want to see an Arab woman talk the most trash? Have her talk to an Arab man. You'd be shocked. Now, these are oftentimes the men that are not their husbands and not even teachers to them or anything like that. That's normally what that is. But in all honesty, see how they talk even to their husbands to a certain extent. I also want you guys to know and understand how Latinas treat their men. A lot of you guys will sit up and say that you've been with someone who was from Latin America and she treated you well, and you won't be lying. And that same woman may have demanded that her boyfriend, who's first or second language was Spanish be a cholo. You didn't have to be one, but he did. He damn near had to be in and out of prison, and but you don't. It's crazy like that. But we don't all follow, most of us don't follow Rollo Tomasi, especially Red Pill Aware Man that's also Muslim. They may hear some things he says, but they don't blindly follow Rollo Tomasi. Even Andrew Tate, that was before he was talking about Christ is King. You had a lot of Red Pill Aware men that will look at him and say, he's not going to always be right. Nobody is. Now, what he's right about is that Muslims should not have to look for other sources of information. We should not have to, but that's up to the ladies. And the ladies are pretty much making it such that if men don't go to these other sources to find information, then these ladies are going to run circles around us because the women have an understanding of what we know from religious circles. So they're going to try to come with something else. And yes, when it comes down to the red pill awareness that we men have currently, when these ladies realize what a lot of that is, they're going to turn around and try to hide that stuff too. The difference is that the red pill focus means because the red pill means you have a focus on what it is that they're hiding. So it means they're going to hide stuff. So you keep an eye out for what they're going to try to hide and what kind of changes. Pulls the lid off. The fact that Phylicia Rashad said what she said, and these women had a father-mucking thing to say about anything she said regarding that, tells you something right there. What is it that these ladies want? Let's look at why it is that they dress the way she was correcting in the first mother cuss word place. It's not even because of the men they want. It's because of the attention they want. We would have understood if it was because they wanted men. No, it's because of the attention they want. They just wanted attention. There's nothing else they wanted outside of attention. They cared nothing else about anything else aside from the attention they got from men and the money they could make from getting that attention later on and the social validation that came with it. What good is the attention if it's not going to be used to either validate them in front of other women or fill up their pockets or both? And Felicia Rashad pretty much triggered them by stating that men and our opinions had any importance at all. Many of them look at Phylicia Rashad and the reason that she has any validation at all to them is largely because she played a married lawyer before that was necessarily popular, but then also because she's been divorced 3 times. She ain't been around the block. She ain't been running back and forth with a bunch of different women, but she's been married and divorced 3 times. Running around with a bunch of different men. But because she's been married and divorced 3 times, that's why she doesn't trigger them more than what she did. They gave her kind of a pass for her defense of Bill Cosby. And they were really kind of triggered about that. But the thing is, a lot of them were not convinced that Bill Cosby was guilty of anything. And they figured, well, even if we think he's guilty, she doesn't think so. But this time, she went and said something about the statement that you make when you underdress out in the public. And what is the first thing that they wanted to say? That pick me B word, how dare she? No one tells us what to do or what not to do. We sit up and pretty much what they were saying is we going to do exactly what is not good for these men. That's who the huck we are. But I said years ago that you are going to find that the women who don't hate you are going to be silenced. The women who think you have any value or any rights and they say so are going to be silenced, or they're going to be opposed. I mentioned this to you before. I said this to you when I became aware of a black manosphere back in 2019, because I already saw the shame. And some of you other ones had said the same thing even before I got started. I just paid special attention to that because that was what explained to me why it was that I could meet very well behaved sisters, even in real life. But online or wherever popular media abounds, I couldn't see it. These women want a power trip. And in their power trip, and they want to sit up and tell you that you need to stick with sisters. And it's cool to sit up and tell these sisters, look, I don't trust Becky. I don't trust Karen and Amber. It's fine to tell them that if you're telling them that for the right reason, but you can't tell sisters that to cater to sisters. You got to let them know. Karen, Becky, and Amber, I know are a problem. They're a problem on the back end. But see, y'all come up front with all the problems and they don't stop. Y'all will sit up and say, yeah, shit, I chose better. But y'all had this agreement that nobody's going to be a better choice to make. And the ones that are willing to be, you beat the hell out of them, either verbally or physically. Something bad's going to happen to them. Phylicia Rashad. At the very least, Phylicia Rashad has made her mind up that what she's not going to do is advertise to men in whom she's not interested. She's gotten her mind made up that at the very least, that's going to stop. Hell, that ain't going to get started. Have some light, have some class, have some dignity. She even said light is not heavy. And that's a hell of a double entendre right there. She said it like she didn't even realize the double entendre. When discussing weight, light is the opposite of heavy. But the shining light that we see, or that allows us to see something else, is also not heavy. A hell of a literally true double entendre, a pun. She said that so nonchalantly on The Breakfast Club. And she even said, I don't want any woman to think I'm personally attacking them, but they personally attacked her when they called her a pick-me. Women like her are going to be silenced, or they're going to at least be opposed. Now, someone said, well, you know, Jet Black, you done said before that age also matters when it comes to these women. Like, you know, they might get a pass if they're old. And her hair is completely gray now at this point. Yeah. And that's probably another reason why they're not going after her physically. I think it would have been a worse backlash had she been in her 20s or 30s saying the same thing. They would have gone after her. They are not playing. They never were. They're just giving some of them a pass, and I'm glad she got kind of the pass she did, but it still wasn't enough. Now, these sisters going to change what they're doing? No. They never were. And that's okay. It's not really okay in the sight of God, but I mean, we can live with that. But the thing is that what bothers you and me alike is the fact that they're going to continue this down into the next generation because they have the control over the children to do it. And this is going to point back to something that the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Hurricane Edwin Allen Anderson of the New Greater Zion Valley Precious Lamb, O Lord, hold my mule while I shout. Golden monument of Hope Faith Tabernacle, holy bright morning star in the hillside in the country, no, on a hillside in the countryside in the morning time. Tabernacle of we don't tolerate no misandry from these O's Incorporated has said many times over, stop nutting in these broads. Don't do it. If you're stuck in the West and you just have to, then marry somebody that's too old to even want shillings. And then you get the snip because you can't leave. Because you should not want to conceive and bring kids into a situation like the one in which you are living. They will take them from you in many cases. The better they look, the more they're going to take them from you. Because the better they look, the worse they behave in many cases. That's part of the programming. They're taught that. You got to be smart. And one way to be smart is you don't give them a way to ruin your future. And they want to take your seed and ruin your future. They seek to pass down this sugarnet, this misandry. Make them go to other races of men to do that. They said they say they can get men of other races easily, and that those men have more. Like the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Dr. Hurricane Edward Allen Anderson said, make them prove it. Tell them to date and marry out. Stop tolerating their BS. Stop tolerating their foolishness and their effery. You up there giving them your DNA, and that allows and enables them to put forth the same foolishness into another generation's heads of both sons and daughters. And we got to cut that mess out. And that's real. And in all honesty, I'll tell you in a heartbeat, it's as messed up as it is. As messed up as it is, you're going to have to go in to adulthood. You're going to have to go out into the world, and you're going to have to go into places where they do try to hook up with each other. And you're going to have to understand the necessity of reproductive boycotting. Because someone like Phylicia Rashad cannot say this, and they won't sit up and say, well, we're still going to do it, but she's right about the foolishness of it. You see, if they even so much as said that, if they said, well, she ain't wrong, we're just doing it anyway, then they got to start asking themselves, well, why am I doing it? And if they don't know what the reason is, then they're going to come to the realization at some point, well, I'm doing it because I want attention, even from men that I don't want. Why do I want that? Well, because I want money or validation or both. Why do these things still matter to me if I'm strong, independent, got my own, and I'm an adult? Why does validation matter to me if I'm not a teen? And then money matter if I can earn my own money? Well, because I'm actually not an adult and I can't make it by myself financially. That's why. Or at least I can't make it to a level at which I'm happy financially and content financially on my own. Then they're going to have to come to these realizations that they are nothing compared to the adults they demanded that we be, financially and socially and psychologically. That there's nothing similar. And, in all honesty, when it comes to financial hypergamy, I don't respect that in women that say they strong, independent, got their own, and men and women equal. I don't respect that in them. But the hypergamy that really bothers me, that I've said is truly unfair, is the hypergamy of adulthood and mental intelligence. You have to be more intelligent than them, but they hate it if you are. You got to be more intelligent than them when it comes to problem solving, but not intelligent enough to understand your own value. And that's why sometimes you got to sit up and say, even to good women, and shout out to Senor Conga. I just saw your email 2 hours ago. Shout out to you, Mr. Conga. About good women that don't even listen at times. You're going to have to tell good women in your life at times, I'm not going to answer that question again because I already answered it. I asked my wife today. She's getting ready to. She was getting ready to go back to the city in which she lives, about an hour and a half away. And so while she was on the phone with someone, I whispered to her, "Listen, sweetheart. So groceries and then minutia. That's the name of a restaurant. So in other words, can I get these? Let me grab my groceries while you on the phone, and then we'll eat minutia." She knew what it meant. She nodded her head, but she wasn't focused. So I went into the grocery store, and they're right next to each other. And then I got a phone call from her. Answer the phone. "What's up? Where are you?" "Okay, see, I'm inside the grocery store, like I said." "For what?" "Okay, did you not pay attention when I asked you the question?" You nodded when I said, "Should I go to the grocery store and then we go to minutia, the restaurant?" You nodded. So I went to the grocery store. That's where I am now. You want to eat first and then I go to the grocery store later? That we could do that, but you got to tell me if that's what you want. "Where are you now?" "I'm not going to answer that. I just told you where I am. Don't ask me the same thing twice." I put the groceries off to the side. When it had left the store, she's in the lobby of the store. You knew where I was. When you have good women in your life that don't listen, you got to stop them at times and say, "I'm not answering that. I'm not repeating a damn thing." That's how they have to learn to listen. No, I'm not going to say that again. I done already said where I am. I ain't playing with you. Stop it. That's what you got to do at times. Not because we're cruel and we're mean, but this, when you got good women in your life, they may have been trained to just be childish and flighty sometimes. And you got to remind them, no. We are involved with each other. Hopefully, maritally, we're having sex. That's an adult activity. You got to be grown just like I do. Well, you gentlemen are living in a place where the women absolutely refuse that because they refuse to grow the ukfup at all. They don't need to be reminded. They refuse to grow the ukfup. They don't want to do it. They will not do it. And they're insulted that you would even demand that of them. Like, how dare you? Ninja, you don't tell me to grow up. I'll be just as childish as I want to be because it's my right. Guess the ukfup. That's a clear sign to bounce on them because that's exactly where you are with them. That's exactly where they are with you. They are not going to grow the ukfup at all, not even partially. It's a joke to them. And that's the hypergamy with which I really have a problem and with which we should all have a problem. The hell you mean I got to be mentally grown, but you get to be a damn kid? That's what I've really been talking about all this time. The hell you mean I can't even enjoy video games, but you get to sit up here and have stuffed animals on your bed and panties with ponies on them and stuff like that? Brother, childishness of these women that you got to deal with. I don't have to deal with that. I don't even think they sell stuff like this here to grown women. I don't think you can buy panties with ponies on them in an adult size. Or cartoon characters or some dumb stuff like that. I don't think you could. Why do they get to act like kids and you and pass it off to you like it's cute? And if you like video games, hell, if you make money from video games, they got a problem with it because you like it. And that's part of why it is that I decided to deconstruct Shahid Bolson's arguments. He's not wrong about what should be. He's right about what should be. He's just not willing to understand what it is. There is a hatred. There's an undercurrent of hatred, and it's not from men to women. It's from the women to the men. And even if we're Muslim and we're not supposed to have that problem, unfortunately, we have women imitating the non-Muslim women and bringing all of the problems in. So when non-Muslim women actually will go 50-50 with you and they're good looking, the non-Muslim women are sitting up and saying, well, even when they're ugly as sin, They'll sit up and saying, I ain't going 50-50 with no man for no reason because I don't have to. And while they have that right to do that, the point I'm making again is that they're simply willing to imitate the non-Muslim women only in ways that are convenient to them or that they think are convenient, but not in anything that's good, even when it's allowed in Islam. Because they're taking it to a further extreme, that it has to be about what you don't like. Don't tolerate this. That's the real hypergamy that you should let them know, to which they have no rights, none. How dare they demand that you be unequally yoked? That means they're unequally yoked. It's just to their favor. How dare they demand this of you? I hope that this helps. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day.